Well, we're back with Bryce Maddock from TaskUs and giving us a American Filipino global education here. Um, but hey, I wanted to ask you, you're a young but fast-growing company. As we talked, you don't have an official board yet. What do you think you would look for you being a member of a board? And at the same token, what value do you think a board will eventually provide you as a CEO of a company that's fast growing?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think we've never raised any outside funding at TaskUs. My business partner Jasper and myself started the business when we were 22 years old with our cumulative life savings, which amounted to $25,000 at the time, and we've never taken any other money. We've funded it from cash flow, which is the beauty of a service-based business, right? A lot of my friends who've raised money have built much bigger companies that are software and have incredible multiples as a result, but they don't necessarily have they didn't necessarily have the beauty of being able to build it based on cash flow. They had to raise money. So I kind of am of two minds when it comes to having a board. Initially, being sort of the somewhat rebellious entrepreneur, I thought I didn't need to answer to anybody. I could do this myself. As the company has grown, I've learned that that's just not the case, right? The vision of the sort of renegade single entrepreneur, it's just never the case. You are always surrounded by people who are supporting you, giving you advice, leading you in the right direction. And so, things that have worked for me have been cultivating mentorships, friends who are generally older but always smarter at a particular area of business, and really, building a friendship where they're providing specific advice around some area that I'm not an expert in. Take these people to dinner, take them to lunch. That's been super helpful. The other thing has been hiring really great people. We early in our history, we made the mistake of kind of hiring what we could afford, which wasn't much. And I don't know that. I don't know there's a recipe to fix this, because when you have no money, right, and nobody believes in your business, it's kind of hard to get great people. So you kind of have to do a lot of the work yourself. But I like to say that we kind of have gone through 3 iterations of our team: the C team, the B team, and now finally getting the A team together. And it makes such a huge difference. I mean, I think Mark Zuckerberg said that the difference between a good employee and a great employee isn't like a factor of 2, it's exponential, and it really is, because a great employee will not only do the things you need them to do, but they'll also point out a whole litany of other things that you're ignoring, and get them done as well. So I think that's been, for me, the mentors and employees have kind of been very important in not having a board. That being said, getting together a board is something that we've talked about a lot, my business partner and myself, and it's honestly something that we probably do need to do. Obviously, if we were ever to raise money, it would happen, but even if we don't raise money, we'll probably at some point in the next year put together an advisory board just to formalize that process of checking your own BS, I think is what they say. Having someone basically be able to tell you, in an unabashed way that you're full of it, basically.
Yeah, and it's partially true. The CEO is like a lonely position sometimes, and but going back to my sports analogies, you use Zuckerberg, I'll use Gretzky. He said, good players know what to do when they have the puck. Great players know what to do when they don't have the puck. So it's exactly the same. Little turn here. Social media, digital media, Twitter, the whole bit. I had one executive not long ago tell me, I used to be able to have a meeting in my office, bring everybody in, we'd talk, we'd fight, we'd this, we'd that, and done. Now I have a meeting in my office before the meeting's over. The whole meeting's on Twitter, basically. And how do you feel social media, digital media affects leaders' actions in what they do and as a result their business? Pro and con.
So pro is, I think it forces you to be much more transparent. I think there is a check on everything that you do as a leader. I think that social media helps you to connect with the masses much easier. I mean, my instance, we've got 1,200 employees between 2 offices in the Philippines. I can send out a mass email, but it's actually much more fun to connect with my teammates on Facebook or on Twitter. where they're commenting on pictures that I'm posting, and I'm doing the same. So it allows for sort of a seamless, like water cooler type interaction, which I really like. The con, I think, is that you're always having to look over your shoulder. There's so much these days. There's just so much litigation, and there's so much. You just have this digital footprint that basically follows you around. So in a way, even though who knows to what degree we're living in a sort of 1984 police state world, but the truth is that your email and your cell phone, and they know where you are at all times, and if you say something to someone in the privacy of your home or your office and it ends up on social media, you really have nothing that you can say about it. There's no protection of privacy. So I do think more and more we're living in public, and I think maybe my generation is the last generation that is going to find that strange or feel a little bit uneasy about that, because I grew up I'm not trying to make myself sound old, but I grew up in a time when you played out in the yard, right? I mean, like there was no iPads. I didn't have a computer in my house, until I was probably 7 or 8 years old. So when you wanted to play, you went out and played in the yard, and there was there wasn't maybe the sort of digital hooks that they have into us these days. So I'm kind of of two minds about it. It definitely makes me a little bit uneasy as a citizen who values his privacy, but I think it's also very powerful, and if used the right way, can help you as an executive.
Yeah, it's I get different comments from different executives as well, and I don't think there's a right or wrong. And I just talked to a whole bunch of high school seniors about the opportunity they have to positively brand and differentiate themselves, and the opportunity they have to brand and differentiate themselves depending on how they do it. So, it's fascinating energy to see them go, well, you're right. This is, you can really do some great stuff, but
I think the
careful.
problem, I feel for young people in particular, because God, I know even having photos of myself when I was 15 is embarrassing, right? Like if I had social media at that point, it would be horrendous. So I feel for young people, because I think part of the adolescent process is really developing an identity, and part of that is like you're trying on different identities, which makes you seem a little ridiculous, but that is what the process is. Exactly. And so now with social media, with all this digital content, you've got this. It's almost like it's like a tattoo that will follow you around for the rest of your life. Every identity that you've experimented with is potentially going to haunt you. And so I think there's a normalizing point. Like I think we get to a point in society where it's like, well, everybody's got this, and it's just the way it is. Everyone's got dirty laundry to a certain extent, but we're not there yet. And so I think the transition is really the painful part, right? The transition where it's strange to find out that somebody was wild in high school.
Yeah. It's a great point, though. It is a development process, and it's a shame that we're so sensitive about everything that people say and people do. But if you're advising up and coming young people, with respect to they have an insatiable desire for info. Sure. In fact, almost too much, because they're constantly looking on their phone, like what's going on. But with respect to developing relationships, with respect to using social media properly.
The first thing is don't ever put anything in social media that you're not willing to have follow around you for the rest of your life. And I know that sounds dramatic, but that's the reality. And then I'd say, that's the first law. The second law is be as human as you can be. So as long as you're following the first law, then you can be as casual as that law permits.
Right.
So being yourself, talking about things that you're passionate about, not all work related, I think is really, really important. Humor seems to work a lot for people who are funny. This is like Jasper, my business partner, is hilarious, and so he's got this upper hand in social media where he's really good at jokes that are 140 characters or less. I'm not as witty, so I don't quite have that. But yeah, I think that would be my advice, is just make sure you follow those two laws. Don't put anything out there that you're not fully willing to have follow you around for the rest of your life, and as long as you're willing, just be casual and be yourself.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Last question in this part, and this is great. You're doing good. I'm going a little bit over, but you got some good stuff going.
28 years.
What's been in your mind in your long life of 20 what right now? Wow, look out. Big 3 coming. What's been your most challenging leadership experience?
I think the most challenging experience was having faith in the first 3 years of this business. It was not easy, and it's very easy to look back, and it's very easy to tell the tale now that we've become successful. Mm-hmm. But that was not certain. It was not certain, for the first 3 years of the business. It was there was a lot of insecurity. There was a lot of anguish. I had left an investment banking job. I'd moved back to Los Angeles, moved back in with my parents. I had friends who had jobs. All my friends had jobs. All my friends had apartments. All my friends had, relatively new cars. And I was driving a 1982 BMW and sleeping in the twin bed that I had slept in when I was in high school. And so, I did that thinking that it was going to be easy, relatively easy. I thought that it would be about 6 months until I was able to at least have enough money to get my own place. And it took 3 years. And all of those years sucked. I'd say that for me, having a business partner really made the difference, because he was able to pick me up during tough times. And, a lot of really great leaders have the tenacity to do it themselves. I'm not one of them. So having had Jasper on my side during those times was really the biggest help. And I'd strongly advise anyone who's considering starting their own business for the first time to really consider whether they want to do it with a business partner or not. I definitely think it's a smart idea for most people.
Well, I would think that's a leadership quality right there, to tell you the truth. Yeah. And
totally.
That infamous "it takes a village," but I don't know, but we got a whole village. But it
awesome.
takes.
Thank you, Mark.
It's good to have someone you can trust right beside you. There's no. Hey, listen.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks a million. That was fantastic.